The vast expanse of the galaxy was alive with mysteries, each star holding secrets of civilizations long gone or just beginning to bloom. Among the most enigmatic and peculiar discoveries made by the galactic community was an archive from a small blue planet called Earth. For centuries, Earth had been classified as a minor world, its inhabitants fascinating yet unremarkable in the grand tapestry of intelligent life. That perception changed forever when the Zenthari Exploration Corps stumbled upon a set of encrypted files labeled in bold, untranslated characters. *hold my bigger asterisk. The story begins in the Grand Archives of the Interstellar Council, a sprawling chamber filled with floating holograms and whispering data streams. It was here that Vex Luminox, the meticulous head archivist, discovered the peculiar database. Vex, a creature with phosphorescent skin and curious, twitching antennae, was no stranger to deciphering ancient records and alien artifacts. But this was different. "Computer," Vex commanded, their mandibles clicking as they leaned closer to the flickering display, "translate the file label." A pause. Then, in a flat, automated tone, the system responded, "Translation, *hold my beer asterisk." Context, idiom of human origin. Usage, signifies a challenge, often involving reckless or daring actions. Vex's four eyes blinked in unison, their glowing pupils narrowing in confusion. What kind of species would encrypt an entire database under such a bizarre name? Their assistant, Nexus Prime, a shimmering crystalline entity with an insatiable curiosity, hovered into the room. "Something troubling, Vex?" they asked, their voice echoing softly. Vex gestured at the hologram. "Look at this. It's encrypted at a level we reserve for the most classified military secrets. And yet, it's named after a drinking vessel." Nexus tilted their form in what could only be described as a shrug. "Humans have always been eccentric. Remember the *tide pod phenomenon*? This is different," Vex said, their appendages dancing over the controls. "The encryption isn't just high, it's almost impenetrable. Whatever's in here, the humans didn't want anyone to find it." As the quantum processors hummed, working tirelessly to crack the code, Vex and Nexus speculated on the database's contents. Historical records, military strategies, a treasure trove of scientific breakthroughs. Whatever it was, it had been hidden with purpose. Finally, the encryption gave way. The archive unfolded like a blooming star, revealing thousands of video files. The first one, dated 2025 CE, began to play. The chamber dimmed as the holographic projection filled the room. A human, dressed in simple running shoes and loose clothing, stood precariously on a thin beam, 150 stories above a sprawling metropolis. The camera angle swayed, capturing the dizzying height. Vex instinctively gripped the edge of their console, a deep sense of vertigo washing over them. Nexus, on the other hand, froze, their crystalline surface shimmering with tension. "This must be a simulation," Nexus whispered. "No sentient being would voluntarily." The human jumped. Vex let out a startled hiss, their antennae rigid with shock. The human plummeted through the air, twisting and flipping with uncanny precision before landing seamlessly on another beam. They rolled to their feet and laughed, a sound that echoed with exhilaration and triumph. The footage ended abruptly. For a moment, the archive chamber was silent, save for the faint hum of the servers. Vex turned to Nexus, their voice unsteady. "Computer, authenticate the footage." "Authentication complete," the system replied. Source, security camera feed. Location, Shanghai Financial District. Activity, parkour. Vex's mandibles twitched in disbelief. Parkour? They're leaping between skyscrapers without safety measures and calling it a sport. Nexus Prime's form flickered, their voice tinged with unease. "This isn't normal. Humans are defying logic, physics, and their own mortality. Why would they document this? And why encrypt it?" The next file began to play without prompting. This time, it showed humans in winged suits, soaring through narrow canyons at breakneck speeds. They skimmed mere meters from jagged rock walls, their movements impossibly precise. The display labeled the activity as wingsuit flying. Nexus whispered, "They're not flying. They're falling, with style." Vex's antennae drooped. What kind of species celebrates this level of recklessness? By the time the third video played, a free diver plunging into the crushing depths of the ocean armed with nothing but a thin suit and a small breathing apparatus, Vex and Nexus were convinced they'd uncovered something extraordinary. This wasn't mere recklessness, it was calculated chaos. Word of the discovery spread rapidly. Within hours, the Interstellar Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness the files. From gaseous philosophers to quantum-conscious entities, each species watched in stunned silence as humanity's daredevil feats unfolded on the holographic displays. "They're mad," declared one council member, their bioluminescent patterns shifting erratically. No rational species would risk so much for so little. "Mad or ingenious?" countered another. "Look at their precision, their physics. These aren't random acts. They're pushing the limits of what's possible." As the council debated, Vex queued up more footage. Every clip was more audacious than the last. Humans launching themselves into space with primitive technology, performing acrobatics in zero gravity, and even riding malfunctioning equipment through atmospheric re-entry. Each act defied not only logic, but also the natural instincts of survival. And yet, every clip began with the same curious ritual. One human would turn to another, hand them a beverage, and utter the words, "Hold my beer." What was it about this phrase that seemed to unlock their daring spirit? Why did it precede humanity's most extraordinary and often foolhardy achievements? The answers lay buried deeper within the archive, tantalizingly out of reach. As the council chamber filled with murmurs and theories, Vex and Nexus exchanged a glance. The next file was ready to play, and they both knew that whatever came next would either solidify humanity's reputation as reckless fools or elevate them to the status of galactic legends. "Shall we continue?" Nexus asked, their crystalline form shimmering with anticipation. Vex's phosphorescent eyes glowed with determination. "We have to. This isn't just about understanding humans. This might be the key to understanding what makes them unstoppable." The file began to load, and the chamber held its collective breath. Somewhere, deep in the heart of the galaxy, humanity's most daring moments were about to take center stage, and no one was prepared for what came next. The chamber grew quieter still as the next file loaded, its progress bar crawling like the anticipation in the room. Every eye, antenna, or sensor was fixed on the projection, the air thick with a sense of impending revelation. Nexus Prime drifted closer to Vex, their crystalline structure pulsing faintly with an energy that spoke of both curiosity and apprehension. Vex adjusted their console, trying to suppress the unease bubbling in their chest. "This time, we're not just witnesses," Vex murmured, mostly to themselves. "We're students of a madness we don't yet comprehend." The file blinked to life, revealing a stark, frozen landscape. Snow whipped through the air, obscuring a small group of humans huddled near a precariously constructed ramp made of wood and ice. The camera's focus shifted to a figure clad in layers of vibrant clothing, a helmet perched on their head. The words *Red Bull Snow Rocket Challenge * scrolled across the screen as the figure climbed atop what appeared to be a sled attached to rockets. The audience in the chamber leaned in, the tension almost palpable. The human gestured wildly, shouting something unintelligible over the howling wind. Then, as if conducting some primal ritual, they handed a steaming cup to another person standing nearby and shouted, "Hold my beer," before igniting the rockets. The sled hurtled forward, a streak of fire and chaos against the blinding white of the snow. The figure clung on, their body whipping back and forth as the makeshift contraption shot off the ramp and into the abyss. For a fleeting moment, the human soared through the air, a tiny, triumphant speck against an endless sky, before landing in a heap of snow, erupting into cheers and laughter. The video cut out, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Vex stared at the blank screen, their mandibles clicking involuntarily. Nexus finally broke the silence, their voice trembling with disbelief. That wasn't survival instinct. That was defiance. Pure, unfiltered defiance. "It's like they're celebrating their mortality," Vex said, their voice almost a whisper. "They understand the danger, and yet they embrace it with open arms." The council chamber erupted into debate once again. Representatives argued over the meaning behind the actions they had just witnessed. Some declared it proof of human recklessness, while others marveled at the sheer audacity of their spirit. In the chaos, Vex quietly initiated the next file. This one was different. A murmur swept through the chamber as the image of a vast, roaring crowd filled the display. Humans of all shapes, sizes, and ages were gathered in a colossal stadium, their collective energy palpable even through the recording. On a towering platform in the center of the arena stood a lone figure, their face obscured by goggles and a helmet. The screen labeled the event *World's Tallest Dive, No Parachute*. The crowd hushed as the figure raised a hand, then stepped off the platform. Time seemed to slow as they plummeted toward the earth, their bodies slicing through the air with an almost serene grace. The camera followed their descent, capturing the moment they landed perfectly in a net suspended hundreds of meters above the ground. The crowd erupted into deafening cheers, and the diver raised their fists in triumph. The council chamber, by contrast, was eerily silent. Vex's antennae drooped slightly as they turned to Nexus. They didn't even use a parachute. No safety nets. Well, aside from that literal one, Nexus replied, their crystalline edges flickering with unease. This isn't just bravery, it's calculated chaos. They're pushing boundaries we didn't think existed. As the videos continued to play, the archive revealed more of humanity's bizarre relationship with risk and reward. There were humans balancing on the edges of active volcanoes, racing vehicles at breakneck speeds, and even launching themselves into the stratosphere strapped to experimental rockets. Each act seemed more improbable than the last, but all shared a common thread. The now iconic phrase, *hold my beer*. The phrase began to take on a mythical quality among the galactic observers. What started as a simple expression of camaraderie and confidence among humans was quickly evolving into a symbol of their unparalleled audacity. The council representatives found themselves analyzing the words as much as the actions they preceded. Perhaps it's a declaration, mused one representative, their gelatinous form undulating thoughtfully. An invocation of courage before undertaking a seemingly impossible task. Or a warning, countered another. A signal to those around them to prepare for chaos. Vex and Nexus, meanwhile, were growing increasingly fascinated by the humans themselves. It wasn't just their actions that captivated them, but the reactions of those around them. Friends and strangers alike seemed to cheer these daredevils on, encouraging them to push further, to defy limits, to achieve the unthinkable. What kind of species celebrates this? Vex wondered aloud. Do they not fear loss? Do they not mourn their failures? Nexus's voice softened. Perhaps that's why they do it. To embrace life so fully that even the fear of loss can't hold them back. The next file added another layer of intrigue. It featured a group of humans gathered around a dimly lit table, deep in conversation. They weren't leaping off buildings or hurtling through the air, they were strategizing. The screen labeled the clip *Apollo 11 launch, behind the scenes *. The footage showed humans discussing complex equations and engineering challenges, their faces etched with determination. The scene shifted to the launch of a massive rocket, its fiery ascent lighting up the sky. The humans watched in silence, their expressions a mix of hope and trepidation. When the rocket reached orbit, they erupted into cheers, embracing one another with tears streaming down their faces. Vex and Nexus exchanged a glance. This was something new. Proof that humanity's audacity wasn't limited to reckless stunts. It extended to their pursuit of knowledge, their hunger to explore the unknown, and their willingness to risk everything for progress. The council's debates grew more heated with each passing clip. Was humanity a danger to themselves and others, or were they a shining example of what it meant to defy the odds? The archive offered no clear answers, only more questions. And then, as the final file of the session began to play, the chamber fell silent once more. This time, the footage was grainy and chaotic, capturing a human in a remote jungle. They were attempting to cross a raging river on a makeshift raft. The label read *Unverified Expedition, Survivalist Challenge*. The raft overturned, and the human was thrown into the rapids. For a moment, it seemed certain they would be lost. But then, against all odds, they emerged from the water, laughing and shouting triumphantly. They clung to the remnants of the raft, pulling themselves to safety with sheer willpower. As the screen went dark, the chamber erupted into a cacophony of voices. The representatives were divided as never before, their arguments echoing through the vast hall. Vex and Nexus stood silently amidst the chaos, their thoughts racing. Humans aren't just reckless, Vex finally said. They're resilient. They'd face challenges that would destroy most species and come out stronger for it. But at what cost? Nexus replied. How far can they push before they break? Neither of them had an answer. The archive still held countless files, each one a testament to humanity's unique spirit. But as the session ended and the representatives dispersed, one thing was clear. The galaxy had underestimated the tiny blue planet and its bold, unpredictable inhabitants. And now, with the *Hold My Beer* archive unlocked, the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. As the chamber emptied, the lingering echoes of debate and disbelief reverberated through its massive walls. Vex sat motionless, their mind caught in a storm of thought. Nexus stood nearby, their crystalline form flickering with faint pulses of unease. The weight of what they had witnessed, both the raw chaos and the unyielding spirit of humanity, hung heavy between them. There's something they're not telling us, Vex finally said, breaking the silence. Their voice was low, almost conspiratorial. The humans, they're unpredictable, yes, but there's more to this. Why now? Why show us this archive now? Nexus tilted slightly, their edges softening into contemplation. The timing is curious. The Council doesn't usually indulge in entertainment. They claim this is about understanding humanity, but what if it's about something more? Vex's mandibles clicked softly, a sound of agreement. We've seen their boldness, their defiance. But what if these files are meant to prepare us? To warn us of what humans might do if provoked? Nexus didn't respond immediately. Instead, they gazed at the now dark screen, that crystalline core pulsing rhythmically. The humans aren't just reckless. They're strategic when they want to be. We've seen that in their spacefaring endeavors. They took risks, but those risks weren't blind. They calculated them, accepted the odds, and succeeded. Perhaps the Council fears their potential more than their recklessness. As the two lingered in thought, a soft chime signaled an incoming message. Vex tapped their console, and a hologram of a stern-faced representative from the Raelian Collective materialized. Their expression was hard to read, their translucent features shimmering with an otherworldly glow. Vex, Nexus, the representative said, their tone clipped and formal. You are requested to stay behind for a private session. There are matters that require further analysis. Vex glanced at Nexus, their antennae twitching with unease. The Raelian representative's summons was unusual. Private sessions were rare, reserved for matters of utmost secrecy or importance. Without a word, the two followed the hologram's lead to a smaller, dimly lit chamber deep within the Council's core. Inside, a handful of representatives were already gathered, their expressions a mix of tension and curiosity. In the center of the room, a holographic map of the galaxy shimmered, its edges marked with faint, glowing lines. A small dot, barely visible, represented Earth. We have reason to believe, the Raelian representative began, that the humans are not merely a species of bold risk-takers. They are problem solvers. And when faced with impossible odds, they have a history of surpassing expectations in ways that defy logic. Nexus folded their crystalline limbs inward, their tone cautious. Isn't that what we've seen in the archives? A species that thrives on pushing boundaries, even when those boundaries threaten their survival. The representative nodded, their gaze narrowing on the holographic Earth. Precisely. But consider this. If these actions are not isolated incidents of bravado, but instead part of a deeper cultural or evolutionary trait, what happens when humans encounter a galactic challenge? What if they view us, not as peers, but as one more boundary to push through? The chamber fell silent. The implications were unsettling. The galaxy had witnessed countless species rise and fall, each driven by their own instincts, ambitions, or hubris. But humanity's unique combination of audacity and ingenuity posed a potential threat unlike any before. We've already observed their capacity for unity in times of great adversity, another representative interjected, their voice calm but firm. Their global wars, their environmental crises, their forays into space exploration, all resolved, or at least mitigated, through cooperation and sheer willpower. If they were to turn that focus outward. The thought went unfinished, but its meaning was clear. Humanity, if pushed or provoked, might rise to challenges with the same fervor they displayed in the archives. And that fervor, as inspiring as it was terrifying, could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Vex leaned forward, their voice measured but intense. Are we to fear them for their potential or respect them for it? Perhaps the better question is, what role do we want to play in their story? Do we guide them, collaborate with them, or prepare to defend against them? The room buzzed with murmurs, the debate reignited. Some argued that humanity's unpredictability made them too dangerous to engage directly. Others believed that their resilience and ingenuity could make them invaluable allies in a galaxy fraught with challenges. Meanwhile, back on Earth, humanity remained blissfully unaware of the scrutiny they were under. On the surface, life went on as usual. Bustling cities, quiet countryside, moments of joy and hardship interwoven into the fabric of daily life. But beneath the surface, whispers of change stirred. Advances in technology, exploration of distant worlds, and the unrelenting human spirit hinted at a future that would soon collide with the galaxy's watchful gaze. Vex couldn't shake a lingering thought as the meeting wound down. If the humans knew we were watching, they said softly to Nexus, how do you think they'd react? Nexus's crystalline form glowed faintly, their tone thoughtful. Based on what we've seen, they'd probably say, hold my beer. The remark, though light-hearted, carried an unsettling truth. Humanity's response to challenge wasn't retreat, it was escalation, and the galaxy had only just begun to glimpse what that might mean.